All right, let's dive into something that's happening inside you right now, this very second. We're going to talk about the secret battery in your chest, a biological engine that literally powers your entire life. And get this, it never, ever needs a recharge. Okay, to kick things off, here is a wild fact. If you were to take a human heart out of the body, completely cut off from the brain, it would just keep on beating. I know it sounds like science fiction, but it's totally real. And it brings up a huge question, doesn't it? Well, this incredible ability actually has a name. It's called autorhythmicity. It's basically the heart's superpower to create its own electricity. And understanding this one word is the key to appreciating the amazing engine that's running inside of you. So, where does this power even come from? How does it just happen? Well, it all starts with a tiny, and I mean tiny, but incredibly powerful group of special cells. So, let's meet the hero of the story, the sinoatrial node, or you can just call it the SA node. The easiest way to think about it is as the heart's own master clock. It's this little bundle of cells that sets the rhythm for your entire life. So what's the secret? What makes these SA node cells so special? Well, unlike all the other muscle cells in your body that just wait for a command, these pacemaker cells are different. They're naturally unstable, but in the best way possible. They're what scientists call leaky. And that leakiness is everything. See, sodium ions are constantly leaking into these cells, which slowly builds up an electrical charge inside. Once that charge hits a certain point, a threshold, boom, it automatically fires off an electrical pulse. The brain doesn't have to do a thing. It's on autopilot, happening again and again and again. But here's the thing. That spark isn't just firing off randomly. No, it's the very first step in a perfectly timed sequence, almost like a domino effect that travels through a high-speed electrical grid inside the heart to make it beat just right. So let's follow the signal, okay? The SA node fires that first spark. It travels to a kind of junction box called the AV node. Then, and this is key, there's a tiny pause. After that pause, the signal just zips down these special fibers to the very bottom of the heart, which then triggers the big squeeze. That sequence is absolutely critical. Now, that tiny pause at the AV node, it might sound small, but it is so important. It acts like a little gatekeeper. That fraction of a second delay gives the top chambers of the heart just enough time to finish pushing blood down into the bottom chambers, right before they squeeze. Without that pause, the whole thing would be a chaotic, inefficient mess. You know, the best way to picture this is to think about squeezing a tube of toothpaste. You always squeeze from the bottom, right? That's exactly what the heart does. By contracting from the bottom up, it pushes blood up and out to the rest of your body in the most efficient way possible. Okay, so you might be thinking, if the heart is running on its own, what's the brain even for? It's a great question. The brain isn't the on-off switch, but you could say it controls the volume knob. So the brain basically has two ways to adjust the speed. You've got the parasympathetic system, which is your rest and digest mode. It tells the SA node, hey, let's slow things down. And then you've got the sympathetic system, your fight or flight mode, which yells, crank it up, we need more power. All right, so let's connect all this cool science back to you, because this isn't just biology homework, right? This is the actual operating system running your body every single day. Now, here's something that might surprise you. We tend to think a healthy heart is one that beats like a perfect metronome, steady, predictable. But it turns out the exact opposite is true. A really healthy heart is more like a brilliant jazz musician, constantly improvising and making tiny adjustments to its rhythm. And that brings us to something called heart rate variability, or HRV. It's just a way of measuring those tiny millisecond differences between each heartbeat. A high HRV is a great sign. It means your internal power grid is super responsive and can adapt to stress really, really well. It's kind of the gold standard for measuring how resilient you are. And here is the best part. You can actually improve this. You can tune your own grid. Things like moderate cardio, what some people call zone 2 training, or even just simple deep breathing exercises can train your whole system to be more efficient and responsive. Okay, I want you to just look at this number for a second. Let it sink in. 2.5 billion. What in the world could that possibly be? That is roughly how many times your heart's internal battery is going to fire in your lifetime. 2.5 billion beats. It doesn't take weekends off, it never asks for a vacation, it just keeps going, all thanks to that little cluster of leaky cells we talked about. Pretty incredible. So I'll just leave you with this one simple question to think about.
What's your resting heart rate? Generally, the lower that number is, the more efficient your internal grid is running. It's a real-time window into the power of that secret battery you carry around with you every single moment of your life.